Okay, so let's start by blocking out the face here. So I'm going to start with our standard Dynamesh 64 sphere here. So I'm just going to double tap on Dynamesh and open that up. First thing I want to do is come over here and turn off perspective. So I'm looking at this straight on from the front. I'm going to bring in my picture, so I'm going to use this picture as a guide here. Now the head is very vertical. You have a lot of space up top here. So I'm going to build the face kind of like we did Mario. I'm going to have this be the top half here, and then I'm going to bring in a separate sphere for the bottom. I'm just going to scale this down a little bit. And when you scale this down, Dynamesh will typically get worse. So I'm going to tap on this and just type in 100 and let it go to a higher resolution. So I just know that I'm going to need that. So I'm going to hit my move brush here, and I'm going to work on basically making this the top part of the head. So I'm going to make my brush nice and big, and I'm going to look at it from the side as well. I want to make sure that as I pull this up to kind of make this more rectangular, that I'm doing it from the side and from the front. I want to make sure it's kind of the same at both ends. I'm going to kind of pull that out a little bit here as well, from the front and from the side. Okay, kind of like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use this picture as kind of a guide to get the size of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually hide this. I'm going to go here to draw and come down here to these are the parts of the floor, the front, back, the up, down, left, right. These are different walls. Right now I can just see the bottom floor, right? That's the up and down. But if I go here to the front, back, I can go to map 1 and I can take that picture and kind of apply it to this wall. And now I can kind of use that as a starting point. So now it's not a perfect picture in terms of like being symmetrical, obviously, so I have to kind of look at this a little bit and kind of adjust, but I can come here to horizontal offset and kind of move this so the head is a little bit more straight up and down, straight in the middle. Now I can bring my move tool here, and I'm going to use this as a guide in terms of the overall shape and size of the head that I need. So I'm just going to scale it out like this and scale this up. Okay, I'm going to hold down Control and just mask out the top half, and then just pull this down like so. So it's a little bit longer. Okay. Now, obviously, this is semi-transparent, right? And I don't really want it to be completely semi-transparent the whole time. So I can go up here to Draw again, and I can look here at what's called the Fill mode. In the Fill mode, if I move it down to 2, you can see here it'll go back to being fully visible. 1, the picture gets less visible, and 2, 0, it goes away. So for now, I'll keep it at 3, but just so you know, you can kind of adjust that. I'm going to go to my side view and scale this up as well, because obviously this is a rounded head. It's not going to be that flat. So you just want to kind of look at it from top and bottom as well. And from the top, I want to kind of grab this and move that out. I want to make sure that it's just, you know, kind of that same width all the way around. I'll just Control, tap, and drag. That's going to re-Dynamesh. You can see here I got 38,000 points. That's a lot more than I want. So I'll Control Z to undo and change that resolution back down to 64. I guess 64 was actually okay. Control, tap, and drag. Yeah, now I'm roughly in the same zone here. Okay, so I can smooth that part out. All right, so for the cheeks, I am going to bring in a separate sphere, but I'm just going to grab the same sphere here, hold down Control, and just drag a copy out. Right? Remember how that works? You can drag out a copy of an object. Now I'm just going to squash this down, kind of widen it a little bit, and just kind of bring this out like this, and get my move brush, and I can just kind of, you know, adjust this shape a little bit. Okay, like this. It's a little hard to see what's going on here, but if I look at this from the side here, now I'm just going to come up here to Draw and go to Fill mode 2 for a second, just so I can see. I'm going to get my inflate brush and just kind of inflate the cheeks out a little bit here. Okay, so just inflate the cheeks a little bit, and I can go to my Draw mode again and go back to 3. Fill mode, I should say. I missed. Let's try that again. Fill mode 3. There you go. And I get I'm going to Control, tap, and drag to clear my mask. Go to my move brush and just pull the head out a little bit. Now I'll just Control, tap, and drag to kind of re-Dynamesh everything. Okay. Now this is obviously not a symmetrical expression, and I do want this to, I want to start at least symmetrical. So now I'm going to come in here and just get my damn standard brush and really quickly just drag out a little indication as to where my major forms are. So I'm dragging out, basically I'm using this eye shape as my eye opening. I'm going to come here, my brush a little bit smaller, and just kind of drag across here an indication of where the little mouth is going to be. And I'm just going to do a little line here where the nose is going to be. So now let's go here and go to draw mode and go back to 2 so I can see. You can see that's where the face shapes are going to be, right? I'm going to go to my side view here, my move brush, and pull that the mouth part forward a little bit here, because obviously the face isn't going to be that flat from the front. Let's smooth this part out. Okay. And now let's just hold down Control. I'm going to get my little mask pen here and just mask out the eye sockets roughly. Control tap to invert. I'm going to go to my move tool and just jam that way back here. Okay, clear my mask. I'm going to increase my resolution a little bit to like 80 and then Control tap and drag. So now I have a few more points than I had before. Okay, I can go back here to draw mode. Let's go back to 3 again. Fill mode. I keep saying draw mode, but I mean fill mode. I'm going to come here with my move brush and just shape the eye sockets a little bit. Okay, I'm just pushing the clay around. I'll go back to dam standard and I'm going to kind of just make the mouth a little bit clearer in terms of where I want it. There's the nose, right? Okay, so again, fill mode, back to 2. And now I'm going to hold down, make my brush way smaller, hold down Control and just lightly, again, make, this is where the mouth opening is going to be. Control tap to invert that. Go to my move tool and I can just push that back. Go to my mask, right? Do a little smoothing. Control tap and drag. I'm actually going to increase my resolution a little bit more now to like 100 or so. Control tap and drag. So now I get a few more points. Okay. And I'll go back to draw mode again. I just want to bring it fill mode, and I want to kind of make sure that the eyes are a little bit more pointy here. So basically you can see that this is, I want this to be a little bit more of a pointed area. So what I'm going to do is mask out. I'm going to do my mask lasso this time. And I'm going to lasso out this stuff here, and then get my move brush and kind of push this right about here. I want this kind of to be a sharper edge. So I'm going to mask out everything but this little part. So I can kind of pull that part up here so that these two parts kind of come together a little bit more of a point, like this. Okay. I can go to my brush, hit B for brush, P for pinch. Let's go to my pinch brush here. And I'm going to go ahead and maybe pinch the corners of this a little bit here. Make sure I mask out the eyes so they don't go anywhere. There you go. And I'm going to go here with my clay buildup brush and just do a little building up here of the cheeks so that we have that little bit kind of coming out over top, like this. Okay, just to kind of build that part out a little bit here. Then we'll smooth it back a little bit. Okay. Go back to my inflate and build that back up a touch. Okay. And then I'm just going to bring in a little shape for the nose and we'll call this video done. So let's go here to my insert sphere. I'm going to bring this in, make sure the two guys overlap, right? Like this. And now I'll go for my side view. I'm going to push this into the head. And now I'll get my move brush and adjust the shape, right? And I put that little nose up like this. Okay, and then kind of just make it a little more like so. Go to my dam standard brush and just kind of carve in an indication as to where the little nostrils are going to be. Right here. And then I'm going to push that in. So we have ourselves a starting point for the nose. I just want it to kind of come out a little bit here. It would be kind of part of the little face. Get my move brush and adjust it for now. Clear my mask. Now when I Dynamesh this might get a little bit messed up. Well, say Control tap and drag. It really does. So I'm going to undo that, increase my resolution a little bit more. I'm going to go like say 140, and Control tap and drag. And now it's still bad, but it's a lot more recognizable as the characters, as the nose shape that we have here. So at least now we have ourselves a little indication of the overall face shapes. I'm gonna get my little dam standard brush and just kind of carve a little bit of an indication there, and then just smooth it out a touch. And before we stop, I'm just gonna go with my standard brush here and just build up a little indication of a lip right here. And from the side view, I'm going to mask out the nose, get my move brush and pull this down a little bit here, pull that whole upper lip a little bit down. Okay, smooth it out a little bit, and I'm just going to get my dam standard brush again and just re-establish those little lines. Then I'm going to hold down the Alt key and just kind of give myself an indication here as to where the lip ridge is. Okay. Now the one last thing, I keep saying last thing, but I want to make this more of an overbite, so I'm going to go from my front view. I'm going to mask out the whole top half of the face here. Go to my move brush and bring all this back just a little bit. Control tap a couple times on the face to kind of smooth that mask out, but I want that lower jaw, such as it is, to be a little further back here. Okay, then we can smooth that out a little bit. All right, let's go back here to draw and fill mode and go back to 3 so you can see where we need to make some adjustments here. So I'm going to grab this lower lip here and pull it up a little bit. Okay, just kind of, oops. All right, I'm just making I get my move brush here and adjust this so it feels a little more in line with the eye sockets. Doesn't need to be perfect. We're just blocking in shapes right now, but as you can see, the nose needs to come quite a bit down. So let's go ahead and bring this whole thing down a little bit here. There you go. Okay. So this will help, I think, give ourselves a little indication of where we're starting from. And the next video, we're going to start adding the ears and kind of blocking out the shapes. Okay, so I blocked out the face here. I'm going to start just really quickly giving the face a little bit more shape. So I have my standard brush here, and I'm just going to build up the brow a little bit. I'm going to kind of build up a little bit of this here and go with damn standard and kind of maybe cut in a little bit right here and then just bring that up here like this. Okay, clay build up just to kind of build that back up a little bit. I'm just trying to get some shape here. All right, and I look from the side view here. Maybe I'm gonna get my move brush and just kind of start pushing this part back a little bit right here so that the little part of the nose kind of has a little bit more of a bridge going on. So everything is still very rough, obviously. Let's bring in the ears and then we'll get the neck and the torso so we can start bringing in, so we can kind of be done with Dynamesh with the face here. Because this looks really weird without anything else on there, right? So let's go here for the ears. Let's go to insert primitive. Let's go to insert cylinder here. I'm just going to draw this out roughly in line with the nose. I'm going to come over here and turn on local symmetry. That way when I scale this, it'll scale correctly. So I'm just going to move this over here for a little bit. I'm going to scale this down, all right, and then rotate it so we get the little coin shapes here. Let's bring this further out, scale it out using the red, scale it up in the green. Then just go to your move brush and let's just kind of make this the shape that we need it. Okay. Now from above here, maybe I'll rotate it back a little bit. Okay. And then we'll just control tap and drag once to unmask it, control tap and drag a second time, and now I'm just going to smooth it out a little bit, right? And just for now, let's go here to my damn standard brush, and I'm just going to kind of carve in a little bit of an indication where the major forms of the ear might be, okay, like this. Then I can just kind of use my standard brush and hold down Alt so I can kind of push in with my standard brush and then kind of build this out, hold Alt to push in, right? So just kind of build out those shapes to the best of my ability here. Okay, we're just blocking in an indication here. We're going to be remeshing this pretty soon, but just want to have some ears there. And let's get because the head and the neck and the torso are all together, right? So we can add the arms separately because the vest gives us a little chance to kind of adjust that. But we need the neck and the torso to be in the same spot. So we'll hold down Control. Actually, I'm just going to go here with my insert primitive brush. I'm just going to insert a cylinder for the neck instead of dragging out clay. That way we can just adjust this where it needs to go. Right about here. Again, maybe we'll go here to draw mode and go back to fill mode. I keep saying draw mode, but you know I mean fill mode. I'm going to scale it down a little bit, right? Something like that. It's a very small little neck compared to the size of the head, but that's just that's the way it is. I'm going to control tab and drag, clear my mask. I'm not going to Dynamesh them together yet because I'm going to have to Dynamesh the torso together with it as well. And I might as well wait because the more you Dynamesh, as you probably know, the more it gets a little bit messed up. So if we can limit the number of times we do it, we'll be in better shape. Let's go here to our insert primitives again. Let's go here to our sphere. I'm going to insert one right smack dab under the neck. And that's going to be basically the top part of the chest. So I'm just going to kind of come right here And let's get my move brush and let's just kind of build it out the chest a little bit here from, not the chest, really the torso, from the neck a little bit, right? And this is basically just going to be where the initial part of the torso is like this, like the rib cage in my mind anyway. And then I'll just go back to my insert primitive and I'll just, actually do my move brush first and just adjust this. And then I'll go back to my insert primitive and then give me another one. Just because I think that the belly part, it makes sense to have that be a slightly separate part so that we can kind of make it a little bit more separate shape and kind of stand out a little bit more. Kind of like this. Let's go to my move tool and just build that out a little bit like this. Okay. Push it back like so. Okay. Control Tab and drag to clear my mask. I'm going to mask out the face so that I can kind of adjust this a little bit here. Okay, something like so. It doesn't matter a whole lot down here. We're going to be adjusting. We're going to be kind of bringing in legs and all that kind of stuff. But just want to make sure everything kind of comes together here. Okay, we'll Control Tap and drag to clear that mask. Control Tap and drag one more time. Now everything is dynameshed together, right? And that'll give us a nice starting point. I'm going to go back to my fill mode now and bring this back to 2 so I can see better what I'm doing. Okay. Again, he's going to have a vest on and everything else. So all of this is going to change. I just wanted to have some clay here. All right. So now let's go ahead and give our character some eyes so that we can kind of start seeing this person as a person, right? So insert primitive brush again, eyes. Spheres, I should say. Drag them out like so. Don't change the shape, just drag them out like giant spheres. They look silly. I'm going to split unmasked points and come down here to my subtool palette and grab them. Go to my move tool and just move them in like this. Go to my slide them back like so. And we just need to, I'm going to get my little Google Maps icon to center it and then bring this out here so it's centered. Okay, scale it up a little bit because what you want is for them to be big enough that they feel almost flat. Then we can bring them into the head so that they kind of stand, you know, so they kind of, they fit in there nice and snugly, kind of like this, okay? Now, what I need to do, now that I have them in there, okay, I'm going to go back to my move brush here, for example. Let's go back to my fill mode and go to 3 for a second. Let's just see what we got. And that feels about right. So what I want to do now is make it feel like he has some eyelids here. So let's go back to the face. And I'm just going to come here and probably just going to bring in another sphere for the eyelids. So let's go ahead and insert primitives, insert spheres. I drag them right where the eyes are. Okay, I'm going to move this back. I'm going to scale these up a little bit. Move them back here. So I want them to be pretty much in the same spot as the eye. A little bit bigger. And now I'm going to go to my move brush to make that go away. And I'm going to split these off just for now. I might bring them back, but I'm not really sure. And let's go here to my solo mode. I'm going to go to my move tool. I'm going to get my Google Maps icon, hold down Alt and reorient my tool. And I'm just going to go to my gear and choose flatten. I'm going to flatten this to about halfway up. Okay. Hit accept. Let's get out of solo mode. And now I'm just going to basically do this. I'm going to rotate them up like this, so that they're kind of roughly in the same spot as the eye. Now I'll get my move brush and just kind of adjust these so that they are kind of like this. I just want them to be, I want there to be eyelids on this character's eyes because I don't want them to feel like the eyes are just kind of like rolling around in the head. So I'm just going to kind of do that. I don't think I'm going to end up dynameshing this back in the head. I think it makes sense just to kind of let these be their own thing. It's just going to feel like they're, you know, just rolls of skin kind of back in there. And I want to do the exact same thing here for the bottom part. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to grab the eyes this time and then duplicate them. So now I have 2 sets of eyes. And for these, I'm going to go to solo mode and once again reorient my tool and center it. This time I'll go to flatten again and then just flatten this down like this. So now I basically have another version of these, which I can then kind of just scale up a little bit so they're bigger than the eye and then just rotate down, right? So now I have these. Go back to my move brush and I can just adjust these so that they kind of fit in there the way I want them to. I just want to have the eyelids. I want the eyes to actually feel like they have eyelids there. Okay, so that's just my solution to that problem. I just want to have some eyelids there. All right, here we go. So let's go ahead and really quickly I'm going to go here to ZBrush Paint. I'm going to sample the color of the skin. Go to the skin here, and we go to the character here. I'm going to go to MRGB and fill. Okay, the eyelids are a much darker color, so I'm going to kind of move that down. In fact, it's almost like a purplish color. So I'm going to kind of do something like this. And I think maybe it's a little bit darker, maybe a little bit closer to red, something like this. Who knows? I'm just going to do something like this for now. And let's go ahead and fill the eyelids with that color. Now I'll go to the eyes and go to white and toy plastic and fill object. So now, go back to RGB here and go back to ZBrush Paint. So now we have these things filled. Let's go to the eyes. I'm going to subdivide the eyes just to make them a little bit cleaner. Right? So now we have basically a very angry looking baby. And in the next video, we'll start doing things like painting the eyes, bringing the eyebrows in, and maybe thinking about bringing some teeth. All right, so let's start giving ourselves an idea of this character's identity, right? It just makes a lot more sense it's a little bit better to paint, I think, to sculpt, I should say, when you can see a character there. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to, again, the eyes are very kind of really cool and like reddish orange, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go to the eyes. I'm going to make sure I have a decent number of points here. I have about 780,000. Let's go to B for brush, P for paint. Let's go to my paintbrush. Let's go to drag rectangle. Let's go to a hard-edged circle. Make sure you go up here to focal shift and make this -100 so you get a nice clean circle here. And I'm going to just drag these out right here to make sure I'm using black as my color. So right about there. Now I'm going to go to a very, 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 very dark red. I'm going to drag that out in the exact same spot. It might be tricky to get it right in the center. I want to just leave a little bit of black behind, kind of like that. Okay, and now I want to mask out that same area. So I just drew out paint there, right? So here's a cool thing. Let's go over here to subtool, close it up, come down here to masking, and I can come down here and choose mask changed points. What it's going to do is whatever I just worked on, that's where it's going to put a mask. So hit mask changed points, and now it's masked out that eye. Now I can control tap to invert that mask. Now I can just paint just in this area. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to bring my focal shift back to 0 because I want to get a little bit more subtle. I'm going to make this back to dots and make this a nice fuzzy alpha here. And I'm going to go to my RGB and bring this down to like 60 or 50% so I have a little bit more subtlety. I'm going to come up here and turn off lazy mouse as well so my paint goes right on nice and clean. I'm going to go to my orange. I'm going to go very, very, very deep orange, like a rust color, kind of like this. And now I'm going to come in here and just start lightly throwing on some of that rust color, just a little bit, mostly in the center. I want to leave a little bit of that darker red on the outside. Okay. Now I'm going to come up here with a very light orange, like almost a vibrant orange color like this. I'm going to come here and hit the bottom, a little kind of like U-shaped painting here, just to kind of get the nice little light hitting there at the bottom. Okay. Now I'm going to go hit C to sample this darker color and go even darker and do the same thing up top here. So I want it to be darker up top. Okay, because that's where the shadow from the eyelids are drooping down. And now I'm going to go back to pure black and I can just drag out, you know, a circle, bring my focal shift back down and just get the pupil right there in the center. Make sure it's at 100%. Try and get that as close to the center as you can. Okay. Okay, there we go. And now we have something like that, right? If you want to, you can cheat a little bit and drag out a little highlight, like right there on the eye. So even though we have a highlighted material, you can kind of see the highlight a little bit better. So that's pretty cool like that. So let's go here now to the face. I'm going to go back to my paintbrush, go back to my dots, go back to a fuzzy alpha, bring my focal shift back to 0 again, bring my RGB intensity down a little bit again, and now I'm going to choose kind of a pink, like a lightish red, like a pinkish hue like this. And let's come in here and with a nice big brush, just lightly throw some paint on here just so we can start seeing some life in this character here. A little bit of here in the ears, right? It's a little bit of pink. Then I'm going to maybe move this toward the dark orange like this and just kind of add a little bit of warmth in this little area here, just to, again, just to get a little bit of life in the character here. Then you can always just hover over the original skin color, sample that, and then just kind of like lightly go back over it to knock it back, right? Now let's come here in the nose, and let's go to my damp standard brush. I want to just kind of carve this in a little bit more because we lost a lot of the resolution there when we used Dynamesh. And I need to get my move brush and actually kind of build that little nose out a little bit. Play build up maybe, and build up a little bit of the front of the nose here. And now I'm going to come here at my damp standard and just give it a little bit of a kind of detail around the nostril there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I want to remesh this because this is kind of, you know, Dynameshy, right? So let's go up here and turn off Dynamesh. Now, when you remesh, you do lose your paint. So why we go through trouble of painting all this? Well, because I can get that paint back. Now you can see my little eyelids are pushing through here, so I'm just going to push them back up, and the eyes as well. So I'm just push them in. All right. So let's go here to the face, and before I remesh this, I'm going to come up here to my undo history and hold down Control and hit this last most recent one. That's going to save the way it looks right here. Okay. So now I'm going to come down here and go to ZBrush with same. Actually, I'm going to do half because I want to have a lower res version of this. And let's go ahead and hit ZBrush. We're going to lose all of our paint, but we'll get it back in a minute. So give it a second to think through what's going on here. All right. So now I have a nice clean mesh. You can see how it flows better. Right, and now I can come over here because I have no paint on there anymore. Let's come here in Subtool and go here down to the very bottom where it says Project. I want to project history. It's going to look at where I saved it and kind of basically kind of project that back on here. So go ahead and do that. It's going to say, do you want to project paint? Yes. Right, and now I get my paint back. So now I can just hit Control D if I want to get my resolution back, and then I can start, you know, kind of sculpting this a little bit more if I need to. So I'm going to go here, my standard brush, kind of sculpt out the nose a little bit. Get those little nostrils there. Let's go to damp standard and try and make these look a little bit more, you know, like a nose. A little clay buildup. Maybe just a little hint of a bridge of the nose. Hold down Alt and kind of push in next to that, just to kind of get a little shape there, and then I'll lightly smooth it. Right, just to kind of get some shape there. Get my move brush and do a little shaping here of that nose. Okay, then my paintbrush and just paint a slightly darker tone inside the nostril there. Get my move brush and adjust the shape a little bit. You can play with this nose for a while because it's kind of a tricky little shape. I can go back to my paintbrush and sample that skin tone and kind of paint that back a little bit. All right, so let's come here into the mouth. We're going to have teeth, obviously, but I do want to have something inside the mouth here. So let's just go to reddish and go to a darkish red. And I'm going to come up here and turn on back face masking. That way, in case I hit some thin areas, it won't bleed through to the outside of the mouth. I'm just going to come in here and just just do the best I can with this. I'm not going to stress too much about it because we can always just clean up the paint job later. But it's always just disconcerting to me to see the inside of a mouth look as light as the outside. It should be darker in there. Now what I can do here is go to my side view, hold down Control and Shift, go to my select lasso, Control, Shift, and Alt, and then just hide the whole top half. That way I can get in here a lot more easily and just kind of paint inside the lip. Okay, I can Control, Shift, Tap, and drag. That way I can get on the upper part as well. Control, Shift, Tap to bring everything back. And now we have, you know, a good starting point, right? So the eyebrows are kind of very thin little things here. So let's go ahead and just do a quick mask and extract for them. So hold down Control, go to your mask pen, and I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm just going to kind of paint a little bit right here, like this. Let's go here to Sharpen Mask and hit that. And then I'm just going to make my color like almost a black color, and then come down here at the bottom of my subtool palette and hit Extract. Now it's going to make it way too thick, right? You can see how it's going to come off from the skin, way too thick. So I'm going to tap on here and type in like say 0.008 or something like along those lines. That's fine. I'll hit accept. Okay. Now come up here, go to the original face, clear that mask because there's a mask there. There's a mask on this as well, so clear that mask as well. Now I'm going to smooth that way down because I want them to be way thinner. I'm going to remesh with same because extracted meshes are kind of ugly. And now I can just get my move brush and just shape this as much as I want to. I'm going to fill it with black because remember when you remesh you do lose your paint. And now I can go here for something like my pinch brush. Right, now I can come in here and just pinch that to a thinner line if I want. So now again we just have something that we could use as the eyebrows, and you can adjust that position as much as you need to just to kind of get it looking the way you want. All right. Back to the head, get damp standard, and maybe we'll just kind of get this a little bit of a clearer indication as to where the brow ends, like this. Right, my standard brush maybe, and kind of push in there. Just want to kind of build up this little brow area here so it's more noticeable. Okay. There we go. And again, eventually we're going to probably make this facial expression a little bit more asymmetrical, but for now at least we have something. Let's just come down here at my standard brush. I'm just going to do a quick little line here for the lower lip. Okay, something like this. I hit B for brush, J for J cut, and I'm going to use that. It's kind of like a damn standard brush. You can hold down the Alt key and just kind of drag out a nice clean line there for the lower lip. And we'll hold down Alt and drag out a little ridge for the upper lip as well. So it just kind of gives us a little indication of shape there for the lips. I want to just say I missed some red here, so I'm just going to paint that red back on. Make sure it's at 100%. Make sure I'm getting that full red in there. Okay. And now for the lips, I'm just going to go to a slightly pinker color and very lightly just brush across there just to give it a little bit of a color variation there. Okay. All right, so we're going to stop here for now, but at least we have a little bit more of a clear indication of who the character is face-wise. We need to add some hair and stuff, which we'll be working on next, but at least now we have something to start from. Okay, so the first thing I want to do in this next video is add some teeth, and they're very simple little teeth here, so we're not going to get too crazy with this. I am going to grab the mouth and just widen it a little bit more, and I'm going to go to my mask lasso here, lasso out the bottom part of the mouth, and just maybe bring this part down a little bit here. Okay, just a little bit. I'll bring this up. Okay, so now let's go ahead and bring in some teeth. So again, I'm just going to go to something I haven't subdivided yet, like the eyebrows. Because remember, I'm going to insert a primitive, and I think I've already subdivided the head, so I need to choose something I haven't added anything to. And I'm just going to come here and just drag out two little white spheres, like so. I'm going to actually maybe go with the color and make them a little off-white. So I'm going to choose a little bit of an off-white color and fill that just so it's not quite so vibrant. And let's go here to our move brushes to kind of make that go away. Split unmask points, and then let's go here to our little teeth. So I'm going to come here from the side view, hold down Alt, reorient my tool, little guitar, get the little Google Maps icon. And I'm just going to go here to solo mode, and I just need to kind of hit Q to go to my move brush here. I'm just going to kind of adjust this shape a little bit to kind of make the bottom feel a little bit flatter, right? Kind of like this. You can see here they kind of get wider as they go up, so I'm actually going to rotate them like this. So you can see here they kind of like have that shape, right? Like so. I'm going to go here to my side view, get my move brush and pull this up. Then go to my move tool and just kind of squash them back a little bit, right? So they're not quite so round. Let's go get out of solo mode here, and let's kind of put these in the mouth. Just going to bring them closer together. Now I'm going to look at it from underneath here, and I'm going to go turn on transparent so I can kind of see through this a little bit. I'll rotate them a little bit here, and I'll hold down Control, right, and drag out a copy and rotate them a little bit more. maybe scale them down a little bit. Now, when you scale these down on either side, don't forget to come over here and turn on local sim. That way it'll scale them and keep them in the same place. Control, drag out another copy here, right? And I'm not going to scale those down, I don't think, maybe not. Let's drag out another copy here. That's probably enough. You can see here, if I go out of transparency, I have to start moving these upward as well. So I'm going to move this up like this. For these other ones, if I go to polyframe, you can see they're all the same poly group because you know, I just copied the same thing. So I have to come over here to poly groups, hit auto group, right? It's going to make them different colors. Now I can control shift tap on this one. I'll control shift tap on it a second time to hide it. Now I'm going to hide the other one on this side, right? So now I can just mask everything out, control shift tap to bring everything back, and then just bring this up a little bit like so, right? Just to kind of get those teeth a little bit more where it makes sense. And obviously, like anything else, you can adjust them as much as you want to. This is really just more about trying to make these, just show the process here. So let's isolate these two little ones because these feel a little bit too big. I'm going to pull those, I'm going to center this, scale it down a little bit, and then pull this up so you can kind of see the bottom part. There you go. So now we got some teeth there. Right, now let's look at the hair. Right, so the hair has a couple of different parts to the hair. I'm going to do this front part here first. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm just going to make basically a clump of hair and then duplicate it. So I'm going to come over here to my subtool palette. Let's hit insert. I'm just going to insert a shape. I'm going to insert a cube. And let's go here and take a look at this. Hit Shift F or go to polyframe. And I don't like the way this cube is because this little point at the top is terrible. So I'll go to my move tool. And I'm going to go to my gear, and I'm just going to choose a cylinder 3D, regular old cylinder. It's very small, so I have to go here to my little gear and go back to my gizmo so I can scale it up a little bit, okay, like so. Now I can go back to my little gear again because I need to make some adjustments to this. I'm going to go here to the side view and grab this little green cone and pull this out quite a bit because I want to have a bunch here because it needs to be able to kind of bend. All right, so now I'm going to go here go to my gear, go back to gizmo, hold down shift, and rotate it 90 degrees so it's looking straight up and down. Okay, now from the top view here, and I'll look out from the top. I'm going to hold down control. I have my mask lasso here. I'm going to mask out not every other like point here on the outer edge, but kind of I'm just going to randomize it a little bit so I have a few of these. I'll control tap to invert my mask, and let's go to my move tool. And what I'm going to do is I want to scale these in, the ones that are unmasked now. Now I don't want to scale them in with the yellow because it's going to scale them down like that, which is not good. I want to scale them in both the green and the red at the same time. And the way to do that is to actually go on the blue and hold down Alt. Alt is the opposite. So if I hold down Alt and then scale in the blue, it'll scale in everything but the blue. Okay. So now I get that. Okay. Now I'm going to clear my mask. And you can see now, if I get out of polyframe, it just looks like kind of like just an uneven little strip. I'm going to go to my move tool here. I'm at my side view. I'm going to scale it in like this so it's thin. Okay. Now I'm going to scale it up so it's long. So I want it to be kind of a long, thin strip. Okay. Let's get out of solo mode here. Let's bring this to the front. Scale it down some more. Oops, my bad. Okay. So I'll make it a long, thin strip like this. Okay, and I'm going to make this a dark, dark gray. I'm not going to go pure black. When it's pure black, you kind of can't see anything on it. So I want it to be recognizable as having bumps and stuff on it. So it's going to be a little bit darker. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bunch of these. Okay, but I'm going to just get one and put it where I need it to go. So I'm going to scale it in a little bit like this. Okay, I'm going to bring it to about here. And I'm actually going to scale it down a little bit more, I think. Right about there. And now I'm going to go here to my gear and choose bend curve. And you see this happens sometimes. If this happens, hit Control Z to undo. I'm going to go to my gear again, go to Gizmo 3D. I'm going to slide it over to this side. Okay. Then I'll come down here and hit mirror and weld. It's going to basically duplicate it and flip it. Oh, turn off local symmetry first. I'm sorry. Hit mirror and weld. It'll duplicate it and pop it over there. And now I'm going to hold down Control, Shift, and Alt and hide the original and delete hidden. Don't ask me why it works, it just does. And now I'll go to my move tool, hit my little Google Maps icon to center it and bring it back over here. And now if I go back here to bend curve, it works. I don't know why, it just does. All right, so what I want to do here is go to my bend curve, and I want to go here to my little orange cone and pull this out to add one little dot in the middle. So now I can kind of grab this, pull this down, grab this guy, pull it up, and then bring this down here so it kind of like is right there in the middle of the head. Now eventually I do want this to kind of taper toward the top, and I could do that right now, but I kind of think it makes more sense to not try and do that and then kind of rearrange them all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to accept here, and I'm going to go for my top view. I'm going to hold down control and just drag out a copy and just put these side by side like this. I'm going to control, drag out another copy and another and probably one more. And then I have to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to control, drag out a copy over here. So I'm going to have myself a bunch here. Now, obviously this does not make sense in terms of fitting the head. But I think instead of trying to make them all fit at this one at a time, it makes sense to do it all at once. So I'm going to clear my mask, go to my move tool and hit my little Google Maps icon to center it. Now to get this to conform to the head, I'm going to use a deformer, but it's going to be a little bit weird at first. I'm going to go to my little gear, I'm going to choose bend curve, and I want to make sure it's going from left to right. Okay, if it's not, you get this little red cone, you can kind of pull it and change it until you get the right axis going from left to right here. What I also want to do is make sure it works symmetrically. So there's another cone here, this little cone right here, this little green one. Okay, you make sure you pull it to it says 1 down there. When it says 1, symmetry is on. So what I need to do now is grab the ends, for example. I'm going to pull them down like this so they kind of get close to the head. I'm going to pull them back like this. Then grab that middle one and pull that forward. Okay, like this. So I'm just slowly kind of moving this so that it conforms to the head. Now this is kind of arcing up, and I want it to arc down. So what I'm going to do is grab that one in the middle and go to that orange cone where it says twist, and I'm going to twist it in this direction a little bit. Then I'm going to grab these and pull these back a little bit more. So a little bit back and forth here to slowly get these things to kind of, work the way I want them to. I can actually twist these a little bit as well if I need to. Okay, so I'm just kind of getting this roughly in place. Let's go to my gear and hit accept. Okay, now I'm going to hit X for symmetry. I want symmetry to be on here, and I'm going to come down here, and this side looks better. The one on the right side looks better. So what I want to do basically is make the right side the same on both, right? So I'm going to come down here to my deformation tab. I'm going to hit mirror. It's going to basically reverse the sides. Why? Because now if I come down here and hit mirror and weld, it'll now take the left-hand side and flip it over to the right. Mirror and weld goes from left to right. So before I had to do that, I had to make sure that I had the good side on the left-hand side. So hit mirror and weld, and now I had it both. Okay, now I have symmetry on. I can get my move brush and just pull that out. Right now, this feels like maybe it's a little bit too low. So I'm going to get my move tool, hold down Alt, tap to reorient the tool, come here and just scale it vertically like this, right? So it kind of comes up. But at least now, for the most part, it's conformed to the head the way I want it to. I can just get my move brush if I need to and adjust the overall placement of this hair. I'm going to grab basically a lighter version of this and fill it on there because it looks like the hair has a lot more, just a little bit more. It's got a little hint of brown in it, so I want to kind of get a little bit of brown in that hair as well. So there we go, something like that. Okay, so this is the first part of the hair. Let's do the other parts now. This was a little bit trickier. I think the rest of it should be pretty straightforward. Okay, so for the side parts of the hair, you can see here I already kind of started one just to kind of make sure it worked. All I did was I took this original one here in the front and I duplicated it. And now I turned symmetry off of the duplicate, right? And now I'm going to move this over to the side here. So I'm going to move it over here. And I just need to kind of adjust basically where this is going, right? So I'm going to kind of, let's bring back this one so we can see what's what. So I'm going to rotate it about this way and then rotate it like this, right? So I can kind of like swoop it up onto the head. So something like, I'm going to rotate it around so it kind of starts like right up here, right? Kind of like that. And then I just moved it. Got my move brush and moved it around. Got this part here and just kind of like remember it's nice and big and just kind of pulled that around, right? Pulled that out a little bit. Made sure that this felt like a nice straight line going across the front here, right? And then up top, I'm just going to kind of pull that down, kind of push it in so that it kind of just covers up the area that I need it to on either side of the head, right? I'm just coming in here and just moving it around. This is low res enough that I can kind of make some big changes without it getting too out of whack. And I can just make my move brush nice and big and just adjust the placement of this just by moving it around. And for the most part, it'll work the way you need it to. Again, you can take your time and kind of make that look a little bit cleaner. But if I go here to transparent, I can maybe see through where the other one is. You can see here it's a little bit further back, so I'm just going to move them so they're closer together. right? Like so. So at least this way, again, you just need to have coverage on the head ultimately. So I can just kind of pull this forward a little bit more, so it's more in the middle, and then you could just duplicate and mirror it. Because I have one done already, I can just do that. I would suggest if you do mirror it, make it a separate subtool. That way you can kind of push one toward the other and not have to worry about them getting, you know, like pushed apart by symmetry or something like that. Just, you know, just keep them separate little guys. And I can just do a little inflate here on the edge and just get your move brush and just make sure that they kind of overlap each other, right? And that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to kind of bring these up like this, make sure they come over the bangs so that it doesn't seem like they're just sticking, you know, sitting next to them, right? But now basically we have the hair there. So I'm going to get the little kind of curled up little guys here. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go back to my front bangs because symmetry is still on there. I'm going to go to my insert primitive brush and go to insert sphere. And let's just come right about here and just drag these out, right? Going to just move them down, rotate them back a little bit. And let's just go here to, I just want to see where they are, right about there. Okay, I'm going to turn on local sim again so that I can kind of scale them in where they belong, kind of like that, right? I'll hit split unmask points so that they're a separate piece. Obviously, I have to come here and move them, oh geez, make sure I'm on the right thing. I have to move them away from the head because we have to have room for the little red ribbons that kind of keep them where they are, right? And all I'm going to do right now is come here with my move brush, and I'm going to kind of like just flatten the bottom part a little bit and maybe just kind of pull this back a little bit here, change the shape a little bit so it's not quite so round. It's a little bit more, has some flatten to it. I'm going to go to my damp standard brush and just roughly indicate that here's where the hair is going to kind of swirl around because it's kind of like, you know, wrapped around itself. It's too low res for anything more than that right now, but that's okay. I'm just trying to give myself an indication that that's what's happening. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of grab my move brush and just pull that out a little bit. So like it's kind of wrapped around. There's a really cool brush we can play with. Hit B for brush, S for spiral. There's a brush here called spiral. This is still too low res for anything to happen, but if I tap and drag my brush a little bit, it'll kind of swirl it, and it kind of gives us a head start on how it might work. For this side, I'll hold down Alt so it goes in the opposite direction. So I get this nice little swirly thing happening there, right? So it's just kind of a cool little starting point for the hair, okay? Again, this is still too low res for anything like that to really make sense, but I just want to have a little bit right there. Now, obviously we need to do the ribbons, but for now, I just want to insert a shape that will be kind of bridge that gap. So I'll go to my move tool, hold down Control and drag out a copy of this, change this to a cylinder, and I'm just going to grab my little red cone and just pull to kind of give it a little bit more resolution there. Go to my gizmo, bring it up here, right, scale it down, basically to make it a stand-in for that red ribbon, just so we have something there, right? Something like this. And now I'll come here and hit split unmask points, so this becomes its own thing. And let's go ahead and just make this kind of a reddish color. Fill it, right? So again, we just have something in place now. We can obviously we'll come back. You can come back later on and subdivide and, you know, kind of sculpt in some indications that this is, you know, like a ribbon and not just a giant cylinder. But for now, right, we have something now. Let's get my move brush and just kind of adjust it a little bit. There we go. All right. So the back of the hair is really, I think, not much different than this in terms of just what we're going to make a couple of little strands, a couple of little clumps of hair. So let's go ahead, insert another cylinder. Okay, I'm going to sample the color of the original hair. I'll do the same thing. I'm going to hold down Control. I'm just going to mask out a few points here, like this, just to kind of give us some variety. Control tap to invert that, and now I'll get my move tool. Hold down Alt and scale it from the top. That way it'll scale it everywhere but the top. Clear your mask, right? And now I'm going to scale this down like so, right? And I just want to make something like these, where it's kind of like these long-ish but tapered bits of hair. So I'm going to get my little gear here, go to taper, and grab this middle one, just pull it up to kind of taper it a little bit like this, right? Go to my gear and hit accept. So what I'm going to do now is get out of solo mode. And I'm going to move this back here. I'm going to turn off my floor just for a second to kind of hide that picture so I can see what I'm doing. And hang on one second. Okay, I just paused it so I could fix the back hair here. So all I want to do with this hair really is go to my little clump here. And I'm going to move over here. I'll hold down Control and drag out a copy. I want to have one that's untouched in case I need to kind of start from scratch. But for here, I'm just going to go my little gear and go to Bend Curve again. 3 little dots, right? And it's going to kind of make this look like that, right? So I'm just going to bring this to the head here, like this. I can go to my little dot, go to my orange thing and twist it so that it kind of follows the contours of the head a little bit better. Something like that. Okay, bring this down. Maybe twist that a little bit here. Okay, I got it from the front and just make sure it makes sense where it's going. Okay, like so. All right, just have a few. Now it's going to have a couple of these, right? So I'll go to my gear again. Maybe I'll just twist this a little bit here. Okay, go to my gear, hit accept. I'll hold down Control and drag out a copy of these and just do a few, right? So that we can kind of have the hair looking the way we want it to. Have some hair coming out of there. Hold down Control, drag out another copy. This one's going to be right here in the back. I'm going to bring this forward here and scale this a little bit here this way to kind of thicken it up a little bit. And let's kind of pop this right here. Oops, did not mean to scale it down like that. Okay. All right, let's go ahead with something like that. And again, you decide for yourself how you want this hair to look. I'm just kind of throwing some stuff together here. Get my move brush and kind of pull that out a little bit if I want to. Okay. I'm going to clear my mask here. I'm going to just Control, Shift, and Alt and hide this and just choose Split Hidden. So it's going to be its own separate thing. That way here, I can just go here to Mirror. I'm going to make it into one subtool and mirror it. And now I can go here to this main one and just pop this right smack dab in the middle here. So I don't have to worry about that little gap. And I'll go back to my bend curve and I'll just kind of, you know, throw that here. Maybe I'll give it a little twist, move it in one direction or the other so it doesn't seem quite so perfectly straight. Right, something like that. Move that out here. And nudge it in there a little bit. All right, there we go. So again, we have some basic hair blocked in for the character. And because this is on either side, you have symmetry on or off. You can kind of give your move brush and just do whatever you need to do to kind of make it feel better. You can give your pinch brush and kind of pinch this a little bit if you want, you know, whatever you think, okay? But at least now we have hair. Okay, so before we leave the face, I am going to just put that little pose on there. So let's go down here to make my color a little bit light and go here to Transpose Mesh. Right, it'll temporarily combine him, I should say, into a full subtool. I'm going to Control Shift click on the head and Control Shift tap on it a second time to hide it, and also Control Shift tap on the eyebrows. And then I'll just Control tap to mask everything, then Control Shift tap to bring everything back. And all I'm really going to do here is just bring. Going to make sure I'm using the move brush here. I'm going to bring this side of the face down, kind of like this. Right, because let's kind of get that nice little straight line going across there as best we can. I think this side of the cheek comes up a little bit more. And this side might come up a little bit here. Okay, something simple like that. Clear our mask, hit that second button. Okay, and you know, again, now that I've done that, symmetry is no longer really going to work for part of the face. So if I want to make any adjustments to that, I have to do it with symmetry turned off, and then go to the eyebrows and do the same thing, turn symmetry off if I want to work with one of the eyebrows, which I do. So I'm just going to tweak that a little bit. Okay. Let's get a little bit more of an expression going on there. We'll get that symbol in there in a little bit. So let's go ahead and work on blocking out some of the rest of the body here. So let's get the vest, because the vest will kind of give us an idea as to where the arms have to go. So let's go here to the head here in the torso, and we're going to duplicate this. So we're going to make the vest from a duplicate of the torso. Let's go to solo mode, and let's hit Shift F so we can see what's going on here. I'm going to come here to geometry and go back to level 1 and delete my higher. Let's go to my side view, Control and Shift. I'm going to my selection tool and change that to my selection lasso. And I'll just do Control, Shift, and Alt and just remove the head entirely, because we clearly don't need that to make the vest. I'll hit Delete Hidden, and I'll come down here and delete the bottom part, because we don't want to have a solid bottom for a vest as well. Okay, Delete Hidden. Come from the top view, and we'll get rid of. Let's turn symmetry back on for this, and we'll just get rid of that much, right? So we have basically something like this. Go from my side view and delete where the arms are going to be. So this is a starting point, right? We'll delete hidden, and now we'll remesh by half. Now, when you do, if you remesh by half, you're going to get the same shape, which we don't want. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to polish my features a little bit. So it's going to clean up those edges, smooth them out a little bit. And now, if I remesh by half, it'll remesh it in that shape. And I want it to be less. I want it to be lower res than that. So let's go ahead and remesh by half again, and again. There you go. So now it's nice and low res. I can get my move brush and kind of grab individual points and change the shape a little bit if I need to. But now we have something to start with. I can get out of solo mode, and I get my move brush, and let's go ahead and I'm going to mask out where the little arm openings might be. And I'm just going to pull the rest of the vest forward a little bit, just to kind of get it where I need it. Okay, something like so. Clear my mask. Come down here to deformation and go to inflate it a little bit so it comes further away from the body. And get my move brush and just kind of grab this and move it if I need to. Now, when you do that, when you grab your move, when you get your move brush and you move it, you get this thing where it kind of like bubbles out, right? So what I'm going to do is I want to clean that up. So I'm going to kind of pull the bottom edge out where I want it. Okay, something like so. And then I'm going to hold down Control and mask out that bottom row of points and mask out this little corner. I'm also probably going to mask out the arm sleeve. That way that doesn't change at all. And then I can polish it again, right? And now it's going to clean that up a little bit. And I can just kind of, smooth it down if I need to. That way it'll kind of smooth that little bubbly part, the part that's bubbling out, but not change the overall position of that bottom edge. Okay, so we have a little something like that. Okay, I'm going to sample that color here. Looks like it's kind of a reddish color or an orangish color, kind of like that. Right, let's just see what we got here. Yeah, I think it's like a reddish color. Okay, something like that. And again, we'll add some thickness to it in a little bit. I'll just hit double-sided for this for now so we can see that. Just want to kind of know where that vest is so we can build around that. Let's build the arms now. Now again, arms, we're just going to do a couple things. We're going to add a shoulder, we're going to add an arm parts, and then we'll just build it a little bit at a time. So I'm going to hover over the skin, hit C to sample that color. Let's go here to my primitive brush. I'm going to insert a sphere right here. This is going to be the shoulder. It's going to build out from the body here. So I'm just going to kind of put that right about there. Make sure, of course, we come down here and hit split unmasked points because we don't want that to be part of the vest. Okay. And now I'm going to hold down Control. I'm going to go to my little move tool, center it, my little Google Maps icon. Hold down Control and pull out a copy of this. And now I'm just going to swap that out for a cylinder. Right. Going to make sure I fill it with that same color. I'm going to actually go to my cylinder settings here because we made a cylinder before, and I want it to actually be less high res. I want this to be kind of low res for now because it's easier to shape it when there are fewer points to worry about. Okay, go back to my gizmo. I'm just going to bring this in. This is going to be the upper arm, so I'm just going to bring this into right about here. Right, and make sure I fill it again. And let's say here, just bring it up a little bit, scale up a little bit like this, okay, and bring it down to about here. Okay, now I'm going to Control tap to invert my mask. That way I can grab this and just Control drag out a copy. This is going to be the elbow, so I need to have something to kind of connect the two different pieces of the forearm. Now I can Control drag out another one and swap that out for a cylinder, right? And then fill that as well. Go back to my gear. Hold down Alt and move the pivot point to here so that I can swivel the arm like this. Okay. This whole arm is probably too long, but that's okay. We're going to fix that in a little bit. I can just basically mask out any one of these right, and just kind of scale them down or adjust the length, just to kind of get everything working together a little bit here, like this. Control Shift tap on the sphere, Control Shift tap on it again to hide it, Control Shift tap on this little cylinder, right? I'm gonna mask out this guy, Control Shift tap to bring everything back, mask out the shoulder. So now I can just move these guys up and part of the arm here, okay? Just like that. Now I'm going to mask out this little area here, Control tap to invert that, go to my move tool, move it down to here. I'm just going to scale that down to get a little forearm movement there, right? So again, I'm just blocking in the shapes. You can go to your inflate brush if you need to and kind of like, you know, puff out where you need to puff out, the shoulder working. And now basically the idea here is to get this and just put it where it needs to be. So now let's put these together. Now we could use Dynamesh. So let's go ahead and turn Dynamesh on. I'm going to have the resolution set to like about 100 and turn it on. That's pretty good, 8,000 points. Now I can just smooth those out, right? Now we have basically a roughly built arm set up here. Okay, I'm going to kind of keep it kind of like that arm, that pose where the arms are kind of, you know, on the almost on the hips. So I'm going to rotate this a little bit so I can kind of get a feel for how big they need to be to look like that, right? So kind of like this. Okay. I just want to kind of get a feel for how big they have to be. I'm going to keep them like this though, because it makes more sense to kind of build them where in a pose where they look like they make some sense here. All right, let's go here and I'll use my inflate brush if I need to kind of puff up the shoulder a little bit. Let's go to my damn standard brush and just kind of give myself an indication where the crook of the elbow is. Right. There's not a whole lot of definition here. Obviously, this is not like a muscle, like a bodybuilder, so I'm not really looking to do that. I'm just looking to kind of give myself indications of where the major parts of the arm are. All right, and in the next video, we'll start building out the hands. We're going to probably just keep them in little fists because that'll be easier, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so to make the hands, we're going to cheat quite a bit. I'm just going to use an insert brush that inserts fists. And then we'll just try and kind of like tone them down so not quite so detailed. Let's go up here to my light box, go to brush, and we're going to go to my insert brush folder, where it says insert right here. Double tap on that. And we're going to go here to find the one that says Manos on it. This is the one, I think the one with the fist on it. If you look at a couple of different ones of these, you're going to see different gestures, and you can choose any of these different poses that you want. You have some options there. In our case, you know, I'm going for a fist, so I want to go for one that's a closed fist, kind of like this one right here. So this is a left hand, so make sure when you select the left hand, you do it on the left hand side here. So let's go make sure we're on the torso, the arms here. Just gonna tap and drag, right? You can see here if I look at this, these are, you know, they have a little bit more detail on them, kind of like a little bit more, what you might call it, they're kind of like a little bit more wrinkly. So we're just gonna do a light smooth on them before we combine. We need to kind of make sure they're really kind of attached to the wrist in a way that makes sense, right? We don't want it to feel like the size difference is too much, so just take your time with this. I'm just going to kind of come here and just maybe bend that in a little bit like this, okay? And what I can do is lightly smooth, doesn't matter, we're going to remesh it anyway, but I'm going to control tap to invert this and then kind of try and use my move brush and just make this transition a little bit smoother so that there'll be less to smooth out when we remesh it together. Now what you don't want to do is Dynamesh this, because when you Dynamesh this, it will basically just weld all the fingers together in kind of a difficult way. Now they're going to be welded together anyway in any case, but Dynamesh probably won't do a very good job of retaining the shapes. So I'm just going to come here and just smooth out the wrist a little bit, make it a little bit more tapered, so that it doesn't feel quite so thick. And I'm asking to kind of push that in there a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to just rotate this a little bit like this, so it feels like it's part of the arm a little bit. Maybe even scrunch it down a little bit like this. Okay. So they're small little hands, but it's a small little character. Okay, something like this. I'm just trying to get the positioning right. Okay, clear your mask. I'm going to turn off symmetry for a second. Hit X. Then go to your move tool W and go to your gear. Symmetry needs to be off for this for some reason. I'm going to come up here to where it says remesh by union and go ahead and hit that. It's going to sew these together. It's not going to make them look pretty, but it's going to sew them together. Now if I go ahead and hit accept, I can now turn symmetry back on, X, and then remesh with same. Now it's going to remesh them thinking they're the same object, and it's going to sew them together. Now I can just smooth that out. If you use Dynamesh, you know, again, you can see here, we're still getting kind of a crazy little thing happening there. So if you want to, I'm going to undo back. Before we remesh by union, let's kind of move some of these fingers away from here. And it's tricky to do, but I have to undo back to before I did that. If I hit the B for brush, M for move, and then choose move topological, which is right here, I can kind of grab the hands, the fingers or whatever, and kind of move them apart from each other, right? And kind of just nudge them apart from the hand a little bit here, so that there's some daylight between the fingers and the hand. Don't need to do it for all of them, just the ones that would obviously look like they were kind of sewn together. So I'm just kind of pushing these fingers back a little bit. There we go, just a little bit, right? Now again, make sure that symmetry is off now, hit X. Now I'm going to go back to remesh by union. So at least now they're not going to be sewn into the hand, right? Now I'm going to hit X and symmetry back on and remesh with same. So once it's done doing this and it's all one piece, like you can see, I'll hit fill object. And you can see now the fingers are still isolated from the rest of the body, so you don't have to worry about that weird thing going on here. Now I can come in here and just inflate if I want to kind of like puff up the fingers a little bit, smooth them out, you know, whatever you got to do. But now you have some basic little hands that are not, again, some of this stuff is sewn together, is welded together, but I don't think you're going to notice it. But I just want to kind of have something there that kind of felt like a good starting point for hands that didn't look too weird. And again, it's a little bit weird, but you can take your time if you want to and kind of get them in the right position before you weld them together. All right, so now we have our little arms here. All right, so to make this little ruffle thing, I want to make the ruffle part of the pants separate from the pants themselves. So I want to be able to kind of control that a little bit more. We use the belt or the sash as a way of separating them. So to make the ruffle part, there's a couple different ways of doing it, I'm sure. And this might not even be the best way, but I'm just going to kind of basically make a cylinder that we're going to kind of like just push in and out to make it look like it's a little bit ruffly. All right, so let's go ahead and insert a cylinder. Let's go to solo mode. And this is probably a decent number of resolution, but I do want to adjust it a little bit. So I'm going to go to my gear and change this to cylinder 3D. And I do want to grab this red cone and give myself lots of resolution here, about 32. But the up and down, I want there to be none, just like that. Okay. I'm going to go to my gear and hit gizmo, I should say. And now I want to actually get rid of these faces on the top and bottom, but not yet, because I want to be able to use this so I can see what I'm doing. Let's go here to my side view, hold down shift and rotate it up like this. Now I'm going to put it roughly in place so I can scale it down roughly, but I want to make sure that when I scale it symmetrically. In other words, don't scale it like in one direction only. Scale it down like this, just because we're going to be using symmetry to make this work. I'm going to crunch it down this way. Okay. Go back to solo mode. Now let's look at it from the top. Now what I want to do is get my move tool, my move brush, but I don't want to use my move brush like this one. If I do this and grab this point and move it, right, I might grab the top point and move it, but the bottom point won't go anywhere. I want to make sure I grab both points at once. And there's a move brush that will do that. So if I come here to my brush here and tap on this, hit M for move, you're going to see right next to my move brush, there's a couple other ones. There's one here called Move Infinite Depth. What that will do is it will move every point behind the one I see as well. So you can see how that works. So to make this roughly, I want to be able to kind of like, work on a bunch of these at once. So let's come up here to transform. I'm going to change I'm going to turn on symmetry, but I want to change it from X to Y. So turn off X and turn on Y, and turn on R for radial. That way I can kind of move more than one at a time. And you can make it, by default, set to do it like 8 little dots here. You can actually make it more. I'm going to make it maybe like something like 15 or 14, maybe 14 dots. So now I'll get a little bit more of randomization going on here, because the number of points here are not equally divisible by 14, so it's going to give me a little bit of randomization. So what I'm going to do is just kind of do that. I'm going to grab that and move this around a little bit and just kind of make this feel a little bit more random, a little bit more kind of roughly, right? Kind of like this. Okay. Just to kind of really make it look like it's got a lot of randomization going on, right? And now I'm just going to go up here to transform and turn X symmetry back on and turn off Y and radial, and just turn off symmetry entirely because this is not symmetrical anymore, right? So now if I want to, I can just kind of do here and grab a few individually and move them if I want to, just to kind of adjust the shape. But now I want to get rid of these ones in the middle. So Control, Shift, and Alt, and just drag a rectangle over top of those. Okay, delete hidden. Let's turn on double-sided so I can see what's going on here. Okay. Now, what I don't want is these points, these like very pointy edges here. I want them to feel a little bit rounder. Now, if I were to, hit D, it will give me a nice rounded edge there, right? Because the D gives me that smooth preview mode. It's called dynamic subdivision, right? So I can do that, and I will get that. But I can also do a little bit with my Z modeler brush to kind of soften that edge. So if I hit B for brush, Z for Z modeler, and go here and grab that, I can hover over an edge, and it says by default it's going to insert edge loop, right? It would actually insert an edge. I don't want that. I'll hover over an edge, hold down the space bar, and change the action from insert to bevel. And what bevel does is it takes that one edge and makes it into two, right? So I can kind of like just kind of, so that way these edges, if I just tap, it'll just do it the exact same amount that I just did it before. So if I just tap here, then these edges are going to not be that little pointy edge. It'll just kind of round them off a little bit, right? And it just makes it so that it's less likely to be quite so smooth an edge when we subdivide it or when we smooth it. So I'm just coming in here and just kind of like randomly making some of these a little less pointy because I don't want it to be too pointy or something like that, right? So now if I hit again, some of these little edges, they stand out a little bit more because we kind of supported them a little bit more, right? So something like that. Maybe I'm going to grab that edge and just move it out a little bit here as well, just because, and then I'll bevel that. Boom. Okay. So now we have this, okay, and I'm going to, before we do anything else, I do want to make sure there are some edges going across here. So I'm just going to hover over an edge with my Z modeler brush, hold down the space bar and change it back to insert. Now I can just hover over any one of these vertical edges and just tap and drag. I just want to kind of give myself a couple little edges here so that it's evenly spaced, okay? So now I get out of polyframe. And now let's go to my move tool. Let's go to my gear and let's go here to taper, get a deformer, and just going to grab this top orange, going to pull it out a little bit, right? Maybe grab this top orange, going to pull it in a little bit just to kind of make it look like it's being cinched in, right? Pull it up here. All right, so now we have something like this. I can get my move brush now and kind of randomly make, actually I'm going to mask out the bottom part here. I can randomly make this kind of go up and down a little bit too, so it's not quite so, the same height all the way around, because that's really not very realistic. So this will just kind of give us a little bit of, of randomization here, right? There you go. So now, let's give ourselves some thickness. So let's come back over here to dynamic subdivision, and I'm going to turn dynamic on, right? But what I'm going to do now is turn on thickness as well. So I'm going to crank up thickness a little bit so we have some thickness here. But I want this to kind of not come out, I want it to go in. So I'm going to come here to where it says offset and push this to negative. And it's going to push it inward. Okay? Then just hit apply. And now that's just the way this is. This is the way it looks now. So I can just kind of grab this and move it around a little bit if I need to, smooth it if I need to. And obviously you can use your move tool now and you can kind of squash it in and adjust the placement of it as much as you need to kind of get it look the way you want. But at least now we have this little kind of, this little roughly thing happening here. Let's go to the vest and just adjust the positioning of that. Obviously, since all these little pieces have to work together, you can kind of decide for yourself how to make them correspond. But at least now we have something that kind of feels a little bit more like a wrinkly thing. I'm just use a deformer and just kind of widen that out a little bit. It was just a little too narrow. And in the next video, we're going to bring in the pants, and then we'll add the little sash. All right, so for the actual pants, I'm just going to start with a sphere just for kind of like the pelvis where the legs are going to come together. So we're going to come here and I'm just going to insert a sphere and bring this down and scale it down here. I'm going to go ahead and go to my gear and go to flatten and flatten it from the top. So this is kind of basically where it's going to connect to the rest of the belt here. Again, we're going to have a sash in between here, so some of this is going to be covered up anyway, but this is just kind of the idea. And I want to kind of scale it down. So there's not much here. I just need to have something to connect the pants to. All right, let's go here and go to my insert perimeter brush, and I'm going to go ahead and insert a capsule. I'm going to have symmetry on, hit X, and drag out these capsules. Right, and go to my side view here and Google Maps icon to center it, rotate it, right, bring it here. Let's kind of pop it right up here. I'm going to scale it vertically here a little bit and scale it up so that we have basically what we need in terms of the length. Let's go ahead and scale it. I'm going to scale it from here a little bit. Now I'm going to hold down, I'm going to bring this out to the side a little bit here because I want to do a couple things. One, I don't need this to be quite so high because it's going into here, so I'm just going to clear my mask out this top part, invert it, and then crunch it down using the vertical scale tool here, and then just crunch it in here. Now I'm going to do the same thing down here, but a little bit less, right? I'm going to come down here and scale it in just a little. I just don't want it to be quite so long. And now I can bring it back. Oops, let's mask out the pelvis again and bring this back over here. So I just want to kind of get a little bit closer to what we're looking to achieve here. I'm going to bring it a little bit lower, kind of like this. Now if I bring my floor back, right, I can use that as a guide. It looks like a little bit of everything is too big. So let's go ahead and go to transpose mesh before we do anything else. And let's Control Shift click on the body. I'm going to mask out actually I'm just going to mask out the body here. Okay, Control Shift tap to bring everything back. And now I'm just going to mask out everything that's not the head, basically. And then Control tap to invert that. Bring my move tool back up here, right around the neck, and then just scale everything down a little bit like that. Right, there we go. So then we'll go back to T-pose mesh. So at least that way now, we can be confident that proportion-wise, things make sense. Okay, go back to the pants here. I'm going to Control Shift tap on the pelvis so I can mask that out again. That way I can kind of adjust the pants themselves a little bit closer to that. I'm just going to smooth that part out a little bit, just so that there's a little bit of a gap between them, just for now. And then I can kind of go ahead and adjust that a little bit here. Okay, because I want there, even though these pants very much overlap a little bit, I want there to be a little bit of a separation at first, just so I can work on them separately. So I'm going to clear my mask. Let's go ahead. We can just Dynamesh this. So go ahead and turn on Dynamesh, and then I can just smooth it out a little bit. Okay. Then I'm just going to remesh with half because I don't want it to be that high res. I just want to have a nice workable mesh here. And now I can mask out the pelvis part and then bring these back together. I wanted this to be a single mesh. Oops, hang on. I want it to be a single mesh, but I wanted there still to be a gap between the legs, even though I'm going to inflate this so they kind of overlap a little bit. I didn't want it to be connected there. I wanted to have the option, if I wanted to kind of, you know, separate them. Okay. Now, if these pants are that low and we want to keep them that way, we can always just turn Dynamesh back on and then say, okay, this is it's the way the pants are. Because depending on the nature of the pants, they might actually be kind of like a low crotch pants like that. So that actually might be what we want. I'm just going to turn off the floor for a second so I can see what's going on here. And I can just kind of build up the back of the legs here. It's my clay build-up brush. There you go. So yeah, maybe that's actually better. Okay. And there you go. Let's bring back our floor so we can see what's going on. All right. Now this is pretty high res. I'm going to turn Dynamesh off and then knock it down by half again so that we have a nice low res version of this. Okay. Like that. And now I can come in here if I want to. I'll turn off the floor so I can see what's going on. I'm going to go here and I'm going to just smooth down with my shift key the bottom part of this. Get my move brush and just kind of push up a little bit just to kind of flatten that little area because it's going to have those little elastic things down here. And now I'm going to come in here with my standard brush or my clay build-up brush, whatever works. And I'm just going to kind of start building up a little bit here for these little folds. I'm going to kind of do like C shape or upside down U shape like this to kind of build out these little folds so that we have like these little tucked in areas underneath there. Again, this is very low res as you can tell, but that's okay. We want to have that shape already kind of blocked in. Now I can just kind of bring some of this up right? So we kind of have like these folds that kind of flow up the pant, right, like this. Now I just hit Control D to subdivide, and now I can come in here and lightly smooth out that stuff, and we'll get some of those folds remaining behind, which I can now increase with my damn standard brush, right? Just to say, okay, I want to have a fold here and a fold here, right? And then I get my standard brush and kind of build up a little bit of that fold over top of it, right? And then just smooth it out a little bit. Okay. Got my side view here, get my move brush and just kind of puff these pants out a little bit here because they're a little bit thin on the side. You also use the inflate brush. Alright, so I'm going to just subdivide these once or twice more. I'm not going to get really too much into the folds. We'll do some of that a little bit later. I had a little bit of that, you know, that damn standard brush just to kind of like give us an indication of where there might be some little openings here. So I use my my mask lasso and just kind of lasso out little teardrop shapes, and then invert that mask and then push it in and smooth it out. You'll get some little indications of that, right? But I don't want to have this be overly detailed. I'm looking for just kind of the impression of folds and stuff like that. Okay. And let's go back down to a lower subdivision level here really fast. Let's just kind of make these like the pants are kind of coming out like this. And then tuck it in here because it's kind of like tucking in toward his little feet, right? So I'm going to tuck that in a little bit here. Again, make sure you look at it from the front because when you do that, you kind of flatten things out. So it's kind of rounded out a little bit. So there you go, something like that, right? Just to kind of give it a little legs, a little something. Maybe I'm going to go here and mask this from the side and then just rotate this back a little bit because it's like they're angling forward a little bit more than I wanted them to. So I'm just gonna try and get that shape the way I want it. A little damn standard here to kind of separate the legs a little bit. Okay, all right. So we have a little baggy pants here. Let's come here, and with my mask lasso, I'm just going to come up and really quickly just kind of. You can see here that this is going to be a little bit blocky for now, but it'll just kind of give us a head start here, something like this. Actually, let's go ahead and make sure we have the highest subdivision level available for us before we start doing some little flamey paint or whatever this is. Okay, I'm just going to come in here and just do something like this for now. Okay, like that. And maybe like right here. I'll Control Tab to invert that. Let's get Sharpen Mask. Sample that same dark orangish color and throw it in there. So now we have something like that going on. All right. So now let's bring in that same color. Let's bring in the little cylinders at the bottom here. So I can't insert stuff on this because I've already subdivided it. So let's go to something I haven't subdivided, like for example, these the little hair ties. And we'll just go here to Insert Cylinder. Go ahead and insert those little guys right there. And we'll come down here, split them off, grab these guys, make sure local sim is on because I'm going to scale it down like this, right? And that's pretty much all we need to get that. The little feet, the little elastic bands, kind of like that. Let's scale them in a little bit more maybe. Right. And we can subdivide once or twice just to kind of give them a little bit of some softness there. And let's bring in the little feet, and we're going to do kind of the same thing we did with the hands. We're going to bring in, we're going to insert some feet. So really quickly, I want to come over here, hover over the skin, hit C to sample that color. I'm going to choose something I have not subdivided again, like those little guys up there again. Go here to the brush palette, hit I for insert. Let's go to insert body parts, and we're going to grab little feet. Here we go. So we have a foot right here. This is a left foot, so we want to make sure that we put it here on the left-hand side so that it's the right place for a foot. Okay, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to scale it down a little bit. Obviously he's got smaller feet than that. Pop that in there. I can go to my move brush here and just kind of, you know, widen it a little bit. Hit my inflate brush maybe and kind of puff them out a little bit here. Right, and then just kind of move them where they need to be. Yeah. We're going to bring our floor back so we can see where he's standing on the floor. Here, let's kind of go ahead and make them nice and straight. Okay, make sure we split them off, split unmasked points. Go to our feet. I'll reorient my tool here so I can kind of put them where they need to be. So I'm going to put them where the feet are on the picture, because as you can see, I'm going to need to kind of adjust the pants a little bit. So let's go back here to the ruffles. Go to my move tool and pull that up a little bit. I'm going to go to the pants themselves. Once I find them. There they are. I'm going to hold down Alt and reorient my tool and pull those up so they're kind of where they need to be. And we'll do the same thing for these little guys. Okay. So I want to make sure that we're kind of keeping in place. Let's go here to the torso, get my move brush and kind of push in the little belly there. Go to my vest and do kind of a similar thing. We're just going to scale it up a little bit so it's not quite so long. So I just want to kind of use that picture as my guide as best I can. I'm going to go back down to the feet here and use my inflate brush and just kind of inflate the foot a little bit here so that it's a little bit plumper. You can see here it's still not quite where we want it to be. I'm going to scale this out a little bit to widen it. Push that back a little bit and move it down. All right. Then we can just, subdivide and then inflate to kind of puff it out a little bit. There we go. All right, next video, let's work on the sash stuff. All right, so for the sash here, it's a pretty straightforward process, I think. We're just going to bring in some cylinders and some shapes and use some deformers to kind of make that work for us. So let's go ahead and come here to insert. I'm just going to insert a cylinder, and I'm just going to sample that color roughly, and then go to my move tool and just scrunch this down. This is going to be that part right here in the middle, right? Really straightforward for this one, because it's pretty much just a shape that just runs through right through the middle here. Bring this down a little bit. It's one of those things where once you get the sash where you want it, you have a choice as to whether you have to adjust the sash to make it fit the other things. I'm hitting D so it looks smooth, or you adjust the other things so they fit the sash, right? So if I go to the little ruffles here, just get my move brush and just kind of push that in. That to me makes more sense. And the same thing here, I can go to the pants and just get my move brush and push that in as well, so that those things kind of work with the sash. But again, like I said, you decide for yourself whether you want to adjust the sash or adjust the clothes. I think it makes sense to adjust the clothes because the whole point of the sash typically is that it's kind of scrunching in the clothes, right? So it makes sense to have the clothes be the ones that have to adjust. Okay. A little bit of something like that. I'm going to undo that. I didn't like that, so I'm going to do that later on. All right, so now we have our little sash here, and all I'm going to do now is go back to the sash, make sure I fill it with that color, and we have to just do a few more of these things basically, right? So let's go ahead and make this little guy here by using kind of a curve brush, kind of like the curve 2 brush, but a little different, and we're going to basically plot out its kind of path along the body here. So let's do this. Let's go to the legs. And let's duplicate these. We're going to use a copy of these, just like we usually do to kind of make clothes. And let's go to solo mode. Now this, I have to come up here to my geometry here. I'm going to go down to like a lower subdivision level, like 2, and just delete the lower and delete the higher. I want to have no subdivision levels on this at all. Okay? And I'm going to go to polyframe here. And what I want to do is I want to kind of draw a line that kind of like charts where that is going to go. So what I'm going to do first is let's go ahead and hit X, turn symmetry off, Control Shift Alt, and I'm just going to hide the right half of this entirely, and then just delete hidden. I want to do it just once, and then I'll just mirror it over. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to kind of draw a line, like I said, that I can kind of like attach that strap to. I'm going to do that by using polygroups. And we're going to make our own polygroup by using what's called the Slice Curve brush. So hit Control Shift, go to our selection tool, then come over here and tap on this. I'm going to get a bunch of options here. I want to use this one called the Slice Curve. What this is going to do is it's going to actually draw a line through the mesh and make one side of the line its own polygroup. So if I hold down Control and Shift, if I tap and drag, you're going to see this little line, right? And if I move my mouse, it kind of like my pen kind of snaps. That's because the Shift key makes it snap. If I let go of Shift, now I can just move it however I want. What I want to do is have this come down and then kind of go back around this way. So right now it's a straight line. So how do I make it bend? Well, where I want it to bend, as I come through here, I'm going to tap the Alt key on my keyboard. Watch, I'll tap, and now I can bend a little bit. So if I tap and just do this, I can actually hit tap again to get more of a bend, like this, boom. Now you can see here, basically we have this line drawn through the body, and it's got two polygroups. Why this helps is I can now use a curve brush and tell ZBrush to put the curve right along that polygroup border. So what I'm going to do is go here to my B, hit B for brush, hit C for curve, and I'm going to use this brush. There's a couple of little brushes here that kind of do this. There's curve strap and curve flat. So let's go here to curve strap. Now I'll set the curve strap snap, which means it's going to try and snap to the surface. I'm going to select that brush and then come up here to stroke. Under curve, I'm going to turn off snap. Okay. I'm also going to turn on lock start because in case I have to adjust this, I want that to be able to stay in place. And let's turn on bend end as well. So I'm just going to keep these on. Now, how do I use this to make it follow this line? Well, same menu, stroke. Let's go here to curve functions, and when I hit frame mesh, I'm going to turn off everything but polygroups. It's going to frame the polygroup border. If I tap on that, you see now it's drawn a line that kind of goes right along that polygroup border, right? And what I can do now is make sure before I tap on this, make sure that your draw size is small enough because that's going to be the size of the strap. If I tap now, see basically it puts the strap right along that line. Don't worry about up here, we're going to get rid of that anyway. But now I have that hanging out right there. I can just tap somewhere on the mesh, make that dotted line go away. I'll hit split unmask points, and now I don't need this anymore. I can just delete. I hit duplicate, but I meant to hit delete. So let's go ahead and delete those pants. Make sure you have the original pants before you delete anything. But now, right, we have this. Now, what I'm going to do really simply is just come up here, Control and Shift, and go back to my selection lasso. And I'm just going to basically lasso out and hide the parts that I don't need, making sure it's nice and clean. Then hit delete hidden, and now to close off those little openings, just hit close holes. And now we have ourselves a nice clean mesh that follows, follows that contour. I don't care too much about this because we're going to have this knot there in the way, but I can just get my move brush and just push that in if I need to, right? But now this is nice and clean. Okay, push that in a little bit here. If I go to polyframe, I do want these edges to stay somewhat sharp when I subdivide it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell ZBrush to crease or to kind of keep those edges sharp. So let's go over here, close up subtool, go here to geometry, and go to crease way down here. I'm going to close up dynamic so you can see here it is crease. Now, what this is going to do is going to make these edges that are like these little corner edges here nice and sharp, so even when we subdivide it, they're going to stay sharp. I don't stay crazy sharp, so I'm going to come over here to where it says crease level. That's basically how long the crease will hold, how many times I subdivide before the crease stops working. I'm going to make it like 2, and you'll see how this works. If I hit crease level here 2, hit crease, and you'll note now that there's like a little dotted line, like a heavier line around these corners. And before I do anything else, I want to make sure I mirror this. So come over here and hit mirror, same subtool, x-axis, yes. I'm going to hit X, turn symmetry on. Now hit Control D once. You see here it gets more points, but those corners stay sharp. Control D twice, more points, but those corners stay sharp. But because the crease level is 2, once I hit Control D a third time, they stop being quite so sharp. So now I can kind of like make them a little less intense, right? So it's just a way of like keeping the edges nice and sharp, but not to the point where they feel too sharp, right? So now we basically have this. You can adjust these placement of these as much as you want, of course, but I just want to show you how you can go ahead and bring them in. Let's go ahead now. I'm just going to come here back to my original belt. I'm going to, this one has no subdivision levels on it, so I'm just going to come here to my insert. Let's go ahead and insert a sphere right smack dab in the middle. I'm going to scale it out a little bit. Okay, let's get my move brush and kind of push the sides in a little bit here, right? So now it's a little bit more oblong. Let's kind of squash it down. Let's just make this basically the knot. Okay. I'm gonna go here to my damp standard brush and just kind of like lightly carve in some indications here. Oh, sorry. Let me clear my mask here. Hit apply so that that dynamic subdivision, which was faking smoothness, is actually real now. Right, come in here, clay build up maybe, and kind of just build up some indications here, just so it's a little bit rougher. I'm going to hold down Control and Shift and tap on this and hit split hidden. So I have to come down here to delete lower. So now it's all gone, split hidden. So now I can work on one and not the other. So I can just work on this little guy. So again, I'm just going to just give it a little indication of some roughness for now. We'll come back later on, where you can come back and do some details later on. Let's go back to the belt here. And just do a little smoothing. All right. And for the belt, again, you can come in here really fast with like damp standard or what have you, and just kind of like give the indication of some little folds I keep missing here. There you go. Right, something like that. Again, I'm just being very quick about this because I'm just demonstrating technique, not finishing the sculpt. But I don't want to make you have to watch every single step here. You get the idea. All right, do the same thing with these guys if we want to, right? We can kind of like come in here and just like give some indication of folds and that kind of thing, just so that it feels a little bit less like it's too solid. Okay, a little damp standard in there. All right, and these two little ribbons coming out. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm just going to come back to this little guy here. We'll come back to this and clean this up. I just wanted it feel a little bit less like it's just a big blob, but we're going to fix that. Let's go ahead and bring in these little guys here. So I'm just going to once again come here to this little guy, and I have symmetry on. I'm going to insert. Let's just insert two spheres. Might seem weird, but I'm just going to come here and bring it forward so I can see it, center it, reorient. Right, crank it like this, and I'm just going to bring it out like this. Go to my gear, taper, wind it out a little bit, bring this in a little bit. Right, got my little gear, hit accept. Got my move tool here, my move brush, I should say. Let's give it a little bit more of a cornered edge here. Right, damp standard, kind of carve in just a little indication of something before we subdivide it later on. Come here, and then hold down Alt to bring my move tool up here. Let's bring this back so that it's near the little knot. Make it longer. Turn on local sim so it scales it in this direction. And then we'll just do a quick bend curve and just, right. You can always scale it down a little bit. You can kind of, twist this a little bit if you need to, so it feels like it's got something going on. Okay. My move tool, my move brush, I should say, and just kind of nudge this a little bit here. I can turn symmetry off, so I can kind of just move one and not the other two, so it doesn't feel like they're exactly the same on both sides. Right. I'm going to actually split unmasked points here. The reason why is because this knot, I don't really like the way it looks. I'm going to add some lines to it by subdividing it quite a bit. So I'm going to come here to my geometry tab and divide. So I have a lot of points, and now what I'm going to do is mask out like a line like this, sharpen my mask, and then kind of inflating this a little bit around that edge, right? So that kind of looks like a little fold. I can do the same thing here, right? Sharpen my mask, inflate around there, do a little bit more, sharpen my mask, and this time I'm going to hold down Alt and kind of push it in. So now basically we just have like these little lines here, so it feels like there's some cool little folds going on there, right? And you can again adjust that to your own desire here. I just want to kind of adjust this a little bit so it's a little bit flatter on the side. Okay, and then we can do the same thing with these. Subdivide these a few times. Go to a brush like Orb Cracks, which is just kind of a nice little brush for kind of having nice sharp cuts. Right. So just adding a little bit of that here. There you go. Right, so just little bits here. And you can, of course, adjust this until it feels right. But this is just about getting stuff together. Okay, so now we have virtually everything. We just need to do some of the little jewelry stuff. We need to do some of the other little finishing touches, add the ribbons to the hair, and I think we're all set. And then we'll do some posing, and we'll be all ready to go. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on the vest here, because we blocked out the vest, but there's not much happening here. We need to kind of make this, give it some thickness, and we need to make it kind of stand out and have some trim, that gold trim that you see there, right? So let's start with the gold trim, because that's a really quick, easy way to do it. Let's go here to let's isolate this for a second so we can see what's what. And it's got gold trim everywhere. So we're going to use our same brush we did before this little a curve brush. So I'm going to go here with C for curve. Let's go here to curve, strap, snap. Now again, I have under stroke, I've already gone here and turned snap off, right? And I want to make sure it's nice and my brush is nice and small. And let's go up here to stroke and go to curve functions again. Instead of doing a poly group, I want to do the whole border. So it's going to basically kind of give me curves everywhere around these open edges, right? Go ahead and hit frame mesh, and you see they're everywhere, right? Come here and tap. It's going to give me that little bit of curve everywhere. I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller and tap on there to kind of make that work. That's pretty good, right? It's going to go ahead and tap somewhere on the mesh to make that dotted line go away. Split unmasked points. Right, and now we have the trim on there. And let's go back now to the vest. Let's just give this some thickness. So I'm going to come here. I use my Z modeler brush for this time. Hit B for brush and Z for Z modeler. Go ahead and choose that. Go to poly frame, hover over a face. Make sure it says Q mesh a poly. Make sure on a face. Hold down the space bar. I'm going to change the action from Q mesh to extrude, and the target from a single poly to the entire poly group. Okay. Now I'm going to click on this. I'm going to push it inward. It's going to look weird at first. Tap and drag, and now it's going to push it inward. It might not look too weird because if you have double-sided on, you're not going to notice it. If it's double-sided is off, it's going to look like this because it's actually turned inside out. So just hit flip, and now it's right side out. Right now we're good. I'm going to do the same thing we did with the belt here. I'm going to crease this so that I could subdivide it and not have it get too soft. So let's go over here, close up subtool, go to geometry. I'm going to go to crease. I'm going to go crease level down to 2. And I'm going to choose crease PG. It's going to crease where these polygroup borders are. So it's going to crease all the corners. Okay, crease PG. There you go. Now if I control D a couple times, right, it's going to give me a nice smooth mesh. And I can just subdivide that as much as I need to. And let's subdivide it a little bit because I want to make sure I have a lot of points, because I need to make sure I want to try and do, this is not the symbol I see in most of this. I see mostly it's like a leafy thing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to come in here with an off-white color and go here to, let's go to solo mode. Let's zoom in on my guy. I have symmetry on. And I'm going to go to my paintbrush, BPA. And I'm just going to hold down control, get my mask lasso. I'm going to go up here to lazy mouse and turn that on so that my mouse, my lasso will be kind of nice and have like a long little line behind it, so I can kind of, you know, get a nice clean look. This is not going to be perfect, just so you know. I'm not really going to try to get perfection here. I'm just getting the idea. Something like this. I'm going to kind of come up here. I'm just going to come up here and do another little petal like this. Another little petal like this. Another little petal like this. There's like another one in between here. Another one in between here. And another one down here. Okay, that's not great, but you get the idea. Let's hit sharpen mask, control tap to invert, and now I'm just going to paint in here. Right? Now I'm going to clear my mask, and now I need to get some lines in between here. So let's hit B for brush, and I'm going to hit P for paint. I'm going to come down here, actually, no, not P for paint, I'm sorry, I hit B for brush. I'm going to come down here and got this one called SO hard paint. This is like a pen. Now I'm going to hover over the red and hit C to sample that. I'm going to turn on my lazy mouse again, and I'm going to come here, and I'm just going to come here and just like draw a line. Make sure my brush is a little bit smaller. I'm going to draw a line through here to kind of like basically maybe a little bit bigger. Got to find that right size in between. There you go. I can just kind of get some little lines here. Again, not going to be perfect. You can take your time with this. This is just for the sake of, you know, you can also find a picture of this online and kind of use it as an alpha. It's also a good idea. Again, I'm just trying to be fast about this. There you go. So let's say that works, right? There you go. So now we have a little bit of that on the vest. Now the symbol on the forehead is a little different, but we're going to give it a shot just by doing it freehand. So let's go here to the head. Make sure, again, the head needs to have a lot of points on it, so I'm going to give myself a couple million. And let's just go ahead and see what we can do with this. So I'm going to go here and go my mask lasso, and let's see if I can just kind of, now that I have symmetry on, no, good. I come in like this, bring it around. Right, something like that, right? So it's that's probably a little bit too big, but let's pretend it's something like that. Invert that, throw some paint in there, right? And now we have our little symbol. So that one looks like it's going in one direction. This one, I've seen it in other ways going in another direction. I'm not really sure which one it is. But in the pictures I've seen, I guess it is this way. So let's make sure we do it the right way. Go this way. Okay, sharpen mask. Invert that. Now again, I can also go here, my mask lasso, and turn off lazy mouse for this. I can hold down control. I can actually go my mask circle, hold down Control and Alt, and basically just kind of eat away at this mask until I get a nicer look. Right? So, you know, invert that. Let's just go with that for now and get the idea. All right. So now we have that. We just need to do the ribbons and the necklace and a little bit of a pose. The pose is really just mostly just the arms. So I don't think we even need to go into Transpose Master. I can just go to the arms here and make sure our lowest division level here. I'm going to move my move tool right here. Going to bring the arms out kind of like this, right? And then we're going to mask out. Oh, let's make sure I go to my mask lasso again. Let's mask out through the elbow and bicep here. And then Control tap a couple times to blur that mask. And I'm going to Alt tap right here just to bring that here. Come here. I can actually scale that in a little bit. Just kind of crunch in the arms. Okay. Now it looks like this one's a little bit higher. So let's hit X, turn symmetry off. I'm going to mask out that whole arm. Then come over here and bring this up a little bit more. Okay. And let's see if I can mask out in between here. It's going to be a little bit tricky, but give it a shot. Okay, something like that. And now I'm going to here. Now I have to go here. What I'm going to do is go here to T-pose mesh really fast, because what I want to do is adjust the vest. But remember, now it's not just the vest; it's the vest and the trim. So Control Shift Tap. I'm going to my select rectangle here. Control Shift Tap on the vest and the trim. Control Tap to mask everything else. Control Shift Tap to bring everything back. And now I can come in here and just adjust the opening of the vest sleeve so that they work with the shoulders. Right. Okay, something like that. And then let's go clear our mask and then bring that back. All right, so now really quick with the ribbons, we're going to do that in the next video, and then we'll just do some finish up painting and give them the necklace, and we should be good to go. All right, so for the little hair ribbons, very simple, right? We're just going to use a long cube and just deform it. So let's go to Insert, Cube. I'm going to hover over the color red here. Okay, and hit C to sample that color. And let's bring this over here. Go to my gear, swap it out for a polycube that I can then customize, right? I want to bring lots more subdivision this way because I don't really need to, I want it to be able to bend a lot in that direction. Go to my little gear and my gizmo, I should say, my little move tool. Just crunch this down, all right? Just making a couple of these little guys. Make sure it's nice and thin. I'm gonna hold down Alt and move my move tool right here so it kind of goes from this direction. And bring it here, right? And just stand it, kind of just jam it in there for now. And we're going to go to my little gear again, and we're going to choose bend curve. And I'm just going to make it something like this, right? Come here if I want to and twist it a little bit to kind of give it a little more of a feel like it's rotating around. Right, I can, if I want to, grab this top one and scale it in a little bit so it feels like it's got a little bit of a taper. Like that. Got my little gear and hit accept. Let's go to solid mode. I'll hold down Alt and just move my move tool there. Control drag out a copy of this, and I'm just going to make this look a little different, scale it down a little bit more. So it looks like we have a little bit of something different going on here. Right, like that. And I'll come down here and just mirror it. Again, feel free to go in after the fact and adjust it so it doesn't feel too symmetrical, because it's a little bit too obviously symmetrical, right? So, you know, you just do something like this and just make it look a little bit different. Okay, like that. All right, so now we just need to give it a little necklace thing here, which is basically just a big ring, looks like. So let's go here to insert, and I'm going to go here to, I'm going to insert a ring, even though I'm going to adjust this in a second. Let's make sure I go up here and fill that with that red color before I forget. I'm just going to go to my gear and bring this forward, and I'm going to go to my gear and choose ring. Why? Because this one I can customize, right? So I want to make sure that the S radius, which is the thickness here, is a little bit thinner. I'm going to have the S divide, which is the number of divisions going this way, a little bit higher, L divide a little bit higher, right? And then just go here to my gizmo, just bring it where it needs to go, and then scale it so that it fits the overall look of the character here. Right, something like that. I'm going to go here to a slightly yellowish color, but now I'm going to go to mRGB, change my material to gold, and then just hit fill. Right, and now go back to ZBrush paint for everything else. So that's just going to stay nice and gold looking. You can always go to a somewhat yellower color if you want. Just go to RGB and just kind of like tweak it so it's a little bit, you know, more on the yellow side, whatever you think looks good. Alrighty. So now we have our stuff. I'm just going to do a little bit of painting now and a little bit of detailing just to kind of make things look a little cleaner. So I'm going to go back to the face, hit B for brush, P for paint, grab my paintbrush, fuzzy alpha, low intensity, and I'm just going to do a little bit of painting here. Okay, so basically what I did was I just went through and just did some, some subdividing to make sure everything was nice and smooth. I did some extra painting over top of it just to kind of add some color here, especially to the skin, which was kind of pale. But aside from that, that was pretty much it. So hopefully this was helpful in kind of showing you the basics of how you might go about creating a character like this. Obviously, I was moving as fast as I could for the sake of not dragging it down. You can take your time and do these objects and these assets a lot more carefully than I did. But hopefully this at least was a good starting point in terms of how you might go about creating a character with these kinds of proportions.